Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Breakout Trading Answer, the show where we talk about all things breakout trading. And today we've got a cracking episode. We're going to be talking about strategy optimization secrets. And Mr. Breakouts, of course, is joining us. He's going to share some research from his Hedge fund. Welcome, Thomas, Mr. Breakouts.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for having me again. And I'm ready to talk about optimization, which I believe is quite a topic with a lot of confusion, actually.
Yes. Why do you think there's confusion?
There is definitely one thing where I believe I will push the audience today a little bit out of the box, and we will definitely, hopefully, break one strong paradigm which keeps circulating in the trading community for a long time. And I'll show you some data, which hopefully will give you a new view on something very important regarding optimization.
Excellent. Well, that sounds very interesting. Can't wait to see that. Now, it seems that we're having an issue streaming to YouTube, but we're streaming to Facebook fine. So let's hope it connects in a moment. But we can continue, Thomas, and it'll probably just catch up in a moment. So, the number one hedge fund strategy optimization secret. Sounds so mysterious.
Right. So there's one particular thing about optimization where I believe that a lot of traders are still rooted a little bit in the history, in a paradigm that used to be true in a deep trading history. And I mean, maybe 20, 30 years ago, but definitely it's not the case, at least last decade, because I keep seeing the numbers I'm going to share with you. It's a phenomenon that I keep seeing again and again. I did it, the first study, which I'm also going to share with you, I did, I believe, 8 years ago. Then I did that study again just very lately, very recently, and absolutely unequivocally the same result. But before we start, let me give you a question. I don't know if we have an audience already connected to Facebook, to YouTube, because I would like to hear some feedback.
It looks like we're not yet connected to YouTube.
Not yet.
No.
Okay.
So
okay.
we'll see.
That's okay.
We'll give it a moment. It's trying. It's trying.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can ask me the question.
Maybe, yeah, I was just about to say, maybe I can ask you the question.
Okay. I hope I know the answer. Yeah. Now I'm nervous.
Oh, that's easy. That's easy. That's easy. This one is easy for you.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a question here, and yes, maybe the audience will connect in between YouTube. So the question is on the next slide, and it actually goes like this. So if you have two strategies, you just build two strategies, and let's consider that both pass the same robustness testing criteria. So you have two strategies, both the same robustness testing criteria, both pass the stress testing. Now you have to, for some reason, you have to pick just one. Oh, we have audience. Great. Shiva's here. Oh, great.
Maybe.
Video showed up for a few seconds, then the stream ended at my end. Okay, looks like something's going on maybe.
Okay.
So, yeah, all right. So you have these two strategies and you can pick only one. Now, which one would you pick based on the number of optimization inputs? So here is the first one.
All right.
So strategy number one for optimization, optimizable inputs. And one, let's say some filter, then you have some time condition from 2, and then you have a certain number of bars to exit. So that's the first strategy. Then let's have a look at the second. And by the way, this was generated by one well-known software in the industry for a random generation of strategies, a pretty good software. So I just used it as an example. So now you have this second strategy, pass the same robustness testing criteria, same stress testing. The only difference is got 10 optimizable inputs like this. You don't even know what they mean. So which one would you pick for your final portfolio?
Probably the first one, because it looks simpler. And also
right,
the, some of these inputs are very, very precise. So that looks a little bit like curve fitting to me. It's a bit suspicious.
Right. I don't know if the audience was able to catch up with this question. That I would love to hear their own opinion, because I believe that the vast majority would be probably on the same side. But hard to say what was if they're already connected.
It looks like we're having no luck streaming to YouTube right now. It's trying to connect. We can see
Not
the
yet.
chat, but no video. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay. So I'll give you the answer, and that's something maybe surprising, maybe a lot surprising, but that's the way it is. And I'm not so sure that the first choice, based on the fact that it's simple, would be the best fit. And I'll explain why, because that's the point of this hedge fund optimization secret. So let's move to the next slide. So I explain a little bit of the background. So about 8 years ago, we did a thorough study on a lot of strategies. I don't remember exactly how many strategies it was, but at least hundreds, if not thousands. And we were tracking. We did kind of like a second out of sample test, where we had typical in sample out of sample. We created strategies, and then we let them develop a little bit, confirm on second out of sample. It was I think the longest one was something between half year and 1 year. I don't remember these details altogether, but something like this. And then we had a special index. It was a simple index. It was something like a combination of net profit, I believe, net profit drawdown ratio and profit factor, something like that, like really, really simple. And we were tracking if there is something. We also had this assumption that simpler means better, and that we should pick simpler strategies. And then we were tracking strategies, and we realized that strategies with more optimizable inputs overall did better, period. Like the index was sometimes much higher, and there was no evidence whatsoever that simpler strategy would be better. At least for now, let me just underline this, at least for breakout trading strategies, the style I do, like the Mr. Breakout's formula. This is all related to this. So we had no evidence that simpler would mean better. And we kept seeing this through the years as well. We have strategies with many optimizable inputs. Again, no, because every year we update the entire database of a couple of thousand strategies. We get them down on many different parameters. No evidence that simpler strategies would be better. Now, this was 8 years ago, but I decided to repeat kind of this study myself just recently. And just to show you, this is quite interesting, because I use pretty much the same software just to quickly sample some strategies, and then evaluate them, stress test them, the kind of process I usually do. And this is what came out with the overall arc of the Mr. Breakout's formula model. And this is what happened here. So if we move to the next slide, I again took these strategies, and then I split them into different bins based on number of rules. These rules were between 6 to 8 up to 20 to 30. And then the software alone uses a second validation period, like second out of sample. So the process was very similar to what I do in sample, out of sample, stress testing, pretty much same in sample, out of sample criteria, as much as I could set up in this software. I generated hundreds of strategies, which also cross-validated well, and then I did this distribution. And this was quite interesting. So the lower the number of rules, the worse the strategy performed on this second out of sample. With rules 6 to 8, which would be simple, really simple strategy that we could understand very easily, only 36% did pass on net profit on the second auto-sample validation. Although the sample size was rather low, or only 20 strategies, it is, from my point of view, 20 is already a number that we can take into consideration. And then basically we had a sweet spot somewhere between 12 and 16. And we could go as high as to 20 to 30. And in the category 20 to 30, we had the highest pass rate, 79%, which is quite mind-blowing. Like the strategy, all the number of optimizable inputs was really, really, really long list. I would not trade it either. But overall, again, I could not see any evidence that simpler would necessarily mean better. And we can see that we had quite a sweet spot between 12 to 16 rules.
Wow.
This software counts, this also, I have to say that this software counts the number of rules a little bit differently than we did in our study. So in our study, 12 to 16 would probably equal something like 6 to 8 or something like that, which we also had a pretty, I think, good result with. But overall, last few years, and since we did the study for the list first time 8 years ago, I cannot see a single evidence that simpler is better. And unless you develop strategies based on simple ideas, aka Larry Williams, like if you have some simple edge, enter 8:30, exit on Friday, if option expiration week, exit 1 bar later, or something like, his simple rules, which is a completely different mindset, completely different development process. But for this, let's say, more kind of a data mining process that we use with breakout strategies, complexity seems reasonable. Complexity, based on all the numbers I've seen, seems to be a better sweet spot than simple strategies.
Wow. That's amazing. So does that mean then that parameterless filters are not effective, or is that a different case?
Yeah, that's a great question. They're very effective. I would probably say it's a different case because it's a rule, and we logically should put it, even if it doesn't have an optimizable input, we should count it as a rule as well. No doubt about that. So we should count them as well. Yeah, definitely. That's for sure. But I think, I've been discussing this with a couple of weeks ago. I've been sharing these results also with one of our great elite mastermind members, Al, and we came to conclusion that markets are simply too complex nowadays, that it's very hard to play them with just very simple rules, and complexity, high level of complexity of rules is needed to be able to perform in these markets. For me, the biggest takeaway is not to be scared of more complex strategies, because I think we all have natural psychological bias against more complex strategies, and we always subconsciously pick whatever looks easier and simpler. But at the end of the day, if it passes robustness testing criteria and stress testing criteria, really, who cares? It's the same effect. It's like it's same outcome, and we should not be really worried to trade more complex strategies.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's comforting. And also, I guess, a little bit against popular opinion. So I find that there's a lot of things in trading like that, right? It's often a counterintuitive results when you actually analyze the data versus, I think, maybe some of the ideas that we come up with or that we pass along are really more about being comfortable with human behavior type of things. So this is good to see that the data really gives us a definitive answer in the way that this test has been run.
Yes, exactly as you said. It's a popular opinion, and I think there's a lot of I think it's called halo effect. Halo effect.
Halo, yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
Halo effect. Actually, that was a great book written, I think, 20 years ago, called halo effect, which is basically that once some truth is being established, people keep repeating it despite the lack of evidence, right? And just because it's been repeated so many times everywhere, it's considered to be the empirical truth despite the evidence, like the halo. Yeah. And I think this is one of the cases in our industry, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with. They have problem to break, and they still want to have they still prefer believing that simpler is better, because simpler means that it's easier to understand, and people want and need to understand, because then they have feeling that they have things under control, and they feel more confident with trading, which I understand is just built in human nature. But in trading, it is just what it is. Like, this is what the data show, and I think that in trading, our confidence must not be built on the simplicity and the impression that we understand what the strategy is doing, what is the rationale. I think that in our industry, we need to be driven by methodical and really tough robustness testing, stress testing, and numbers. And if these numbers and stress test procedures and robustness test procedures confirm we have an edge, there's no really reason to understand all the complexity of the strategy. Would be nice to understand. Yes, it would be nice. Do we need to understand to trade it? We don't. I don't understand the vast majority of logics of my strategies. I don't even care. I don't even look. It passes the criteria. That's it. Let's move on.
Yeah, very well said, Thomas. Very well said. Okay.
So let's really, guys, let's open the mind here, because this is crucial. And when I said that the topic of the episode will be the number one hedge fund optimization secret, that's the secret. We're not biased towards simplicity. We just don't give a shit about simplicity as far as it passes all the criteria. So let's conclude it a little bit on the next slide.
Yep.
So this is our secret in three simple points. We do not care about the complexity. This doesn't mean that I personally would not also run a strategy with 30 inputs. Like, we need to be reasonable. But as we lack an evidence that 2 or 3 optimizable inputs would be significantly better than 6 or 7, in fact, 2 or 3 are significantly worse repeatedly, we're absolutely okay. We run strategies 5, 6, 7 optimizable inputs. I would say the only dark side of this is that the optimization takes longer, because with more inputs, we have more iterations. So if we try to squeeze it into less rules or less range, it's just for the sake of decreasing the number of iterations needed to optimize the strategy. But overall, we have zero bias towards like lower number of optimization inputs. We don't care. We only care about the robustness test results, because technically both strategies, if they pass the same tough robustness testing procedures and stress testing now are really tough, then you should be able to run both without any opinion. Like, if you need to pick between these two that I shared at the very beginning, probably you would use a different metric than the number of optimizable inputs. Maybe, the average win versus average loss ratio or something like that, or net profit drawdown ratio. That should be the decisive factor. And this is very important. Once we adapt this paradigm shift, once we get ourselves free from this old halo effect of the simplicity, and that's the most amazing part, I believe, we get incredible flexibility, because all of a sudden we can create more strategies. We don't have to think, we don't have to overthink the logic of strategy. We're driven just by these stress tests, and we're way more flexible in terms of creating a bigger amount of strategies. Then we have the luxury to combine them into better portfolios, and I think that's a huge benefit, higher benefit than understanding the rationale behind the strategy. So that's our entire optimization secret in the hedge fund.
Just like that. Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have any questions in the chat because we seem to be having an issue streaming to YouTube, but this is being recorded. So if YouTube doesn't fix itself, we'll upload this to the channel. And if you've got any questions or comments, please post them in the comment section below, and we'll come back and have a look at those. So no questions for this today, Thomas. We're here all alone until YouTube has cut us off. So, but we will get this recording up on the channel as soon as possible.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. One more slide, I believe. Yep. Yes. So I just want to, let you know, guys, if you still struggle to build good quality, profitable strategies, I also highly recommend getting this book, The Breakout Trading Revolution. Learn the simple formula, which will have more optimizable inputs than just 1 or 2 or 3, but you still will be able to understand the model, the logic, the rationale behind it. And that's the model that we use also in our hedge fund to build our breakout trading strategies. So use the model, and absolutely do not be afraid of a high level of complexity. If it passes robustness testing criteria, stress testing criteria, with a little bit more complex strategy, you will probably do better, because really markets are a competitive place, highly evolved place. There are a lot of other algorithmic traders, and you need to have a little bit of, like bigger kind of complexity to compete with all these smart guys. So don't be afraid of that. The evidence says it's safe. Go that road without hesitation.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for sharing that, Thomas. And please, if anyone, as you're watching this recording, if you enjoyed the information Thomas shared today, please remember to give us a big thumbs up on the video and leave any comments or questions in the chat, and we'll come back to them another day and see if we can respond to those. So thanks again for watching this. And thank you, Thomas, for sharing us your #1 hedge fund optimization secret.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for having me. Thank you very much for having me, and happy trading.
Happy trading.